Does your prototype need to go through DFM before you build it? Well, the answer kind of depends on where you are in the process. If you are at the proof of concept stage, you might not need it. But if you're building a prototype that's getting closer to mass production, then yes, you do need it. So in this video, I'll go over when DFM makes sense during the prototyping process. Before we go further, let's clarify something. What is design for manufacturing, or DFM? It's really answering the question of whether or not your product can be built at scale, consistently, and at a cost-effective price. It's not really answering if a single part can be made, but whether that part can be made in mass production. If you ignore DFM, then your part can still be made, but you might have some quality problems or it will be more expensive to make. For me personally, I always feel that your contract manufacturer should take the responsibility of DFM. The reason for this is that it's their machines, their workers, and their assembly lines that are building your product. So they can run a round of DFM that's not just for fabrication, but also for final assembly to make sure that everything is optimized from the start all the way to the finish. At the early stage of product development, your goal is to learn and iterate quickly. You're not focused on the cost and manufacturability quite yet. What matters is whether the product can be made at all and if it's functional. So at this point, it's common just to test to see if a new design works as intended, or if you need a functional sample just to validate the idea. But regardless of the reason, at this point, you don't need detailed DFM analysis. But with that said, I always like to know at a high level if a product can eventually be made in mass production. It's always a shame when a prototype is functional in the early tests, but then you realize in mass production that there are certain constraints and it just can't be made. It doesn't necessarily mean that you need a full DFM review, but it's worth keeping in the back of your mind whether the design has a path to production. As you get closer to mass production, this will change. If you're already at the later validation stages, your prototypes should be DFM approved. This is true even if the prototype part you are building will be made differently in mass production. So for an example, you might be using CNC for prototypes, but then for mass production, you'll switch to die-cast. And in this case, DFM should assume it will be made using die-cast instead of CNC. If you do skip these steps, then you'll need to do another round of DFM and make some more prototypes. And depending on the complexity of your products and the number of parts that you have, this can take a few months. A big reason teams do skip DFM at this stage is that reports can take time to come back. And at OpusFab, we have solved this by making DFM reports instant. So if you haven't checked it out already, go to OpusFab.com, register, and then you can get started. And if you do ignore DFM in general, then expect to have quality and output issues in production. So if you are at the proof of concept stage, you don't need a full DFM review. Your goal is to learn and iterate quickly. If you're at the later stages of validation, your prototype should be DFM approved, even if the process you're using to build the prototype does not match what is going to be made in mass production. And if you skip DFM in general, you're just going to be postponing your product launch and welcoming quality and output issues in the future. And if you do need a DFM review, go to OpusFab.com. We have both instant and manual reviews available. Thank you for watching. If you do have any questions, then please just comment below and I'll get back to you. Thank you.